Direct threat to major American technology companies, warning. April, the statement names global giants including Apple, Microsoft, Google, Boeing, and Tesla.
In the city of Arad, a ballistic missile shattered an entire neighborhood. Weeks of missile and drone strikes have left many Israelis war-weary.
International Atomic Energy Agency said that Iran's heavy water production plant has suffered severe damage and is no longer operational.
And swarms of drones raining down across the United Arab Emirates.
60 years of silence, broken in minutes. A place the world wasn't even allowed to officially acknowledge just got hit. Missiles reportedly reached Dimona, the city tied to Israel's most secretive nuclear program, and suddenly the International Atomic Energy Agency is issuing emergency warnings about nuclear safety. That's something they never do lightly. At the same time, panic signals are spreading toward Dubai, where global companies and civilians are being told to leave. So here's the real question. Are we witnessing just another escalation, or the moment a hidden nuclear reality was forced into the open? Stay with me, because what's unfolding right now could change everything you thought you understood about this conflict. Tucked deep inside the Negev desert lies Dimona, a quiet, almost unremarkable city on the surface, but one that has carried one of the world's most tightly guarded secrets for decades. This is where the Negev Nuclear Research Center is believed to operate, a facility surrounded not just by fences and security, but by something far more powerful: silence. For over 60 years, Israel has followed a policy known as nuclear ambiguity, meaning it has never officially confirmed possessing nuclear weapons, but has also never denied it. This strategy allowed Israel to maintain a powerful deterrent without triggering the full political and legal consequences that come with openly declaring nuclear capability. According to widely reported international analysis and intelligence assessments over the decades, Dimona has long been at the center of these suspicions, believed to be the core of Israel's nuclear development program. What makes this even more fascinating is that global nuclear watchdogs like the International Atomic Energy Agency have repeatedly sought access to inspect this facility, but access was never granted, not once. That alone tells you how sensitive this location is. The world has essentially operated on an open secret. Everyone knows what Dimona likely represents, but no one has been able to officially prove it through inspection. This careful balance allowed Israel to avoid international treaties and pressure that might limit its strategic options, while still sending a clear message to its adversaries. But here's where things take a dramatic turn. The entire strategy of ambiguity depends on one key factor: control. Control over information, control over access, and most importantly, control over vulnerability. The moment missiles are reported to have reached the vicinity of Dimona, that control is shaken, because suddenly the question is no longer just about what exists there. It's about what could happen if that site is no longer untouchable. And that leads to a deeper, more unsettling thought. Why maintain secrecy for 6 decades if the truth doesn't fundamentally shift the balance of power? Because if it didn't matter, it wouldn't need to be hidden this carefully. For years, Israel's air defense systems have been seen as some of the most advanced and reliable in the world. Systems like the Iron Dome and the Arrow missile defense network were specifically designed to detect, track, and destroy incoming threats before they could reach critical targets. The Iron Dome focuses on short-range rockets, intercepting them mid-air with remarkable accuracy, while the Arrow system is built to stop longer-range ballistic missiles high above the atmosphere. Together, they form a layered shield that has given Israelis a sense of security even during intense conflicts. According to widely reported defense analysis over the years, these systems have successfully intercepted thousands of incoming projectiles, creating a reputation that many believed was nearly unbreakable. But this is where the situation becomes deeply concerning. If missiles truly reached Dimona, a location considered highly sensitive and strategically protected, it suggests that something in that defensive shield didn't work as expected. This doesn't necessarily mean the entire system failed, but even a single breach in such a high-stakes environment changes the equation completely. Because these systems are not just about stopping attacks, they are about maintaining deterrence. The belief that nothing gets through is just as important as the interceptions themselves. When that belief is shaken even once, it sends a powerful message far beyond the battlefield. It tells adversaries that the shield is not perfect, that there are gaps, moments, or methods that can bypass it. And in modern warfare, perception can be just as impactful as reality. A single successful penetration can shift strategies, embolden opponents, and force rapid reassessments at the highest levels of military planning. Think about it in simple terms. Imagine relying on a security system you've trusted for years, believing it makes you completely safe, and then one day it fails just once. Even if it works perfectly the next 100 times, that one failure changes how you see everything. That's exactly the kind of psychological and strategic shift this moment represents. Because this is not just about a missile getting through, it's about what that moment signals to the region and to the world. Far from the deserts and military tension of the Middle East, in the calm diplomatic corridors of Vienna, a statement was released that may carry more weight than the missiles themselves. The International Atomic Energy Agency, a body known for its careful wording and measured responses, issued an urgent call for maximum restraint near nuclear facilities. On the surface, it may sound like a routine appeal for de-escalation, but statements like this are rare, deliberate, and never random. Analysts note that the IAEA does not issue nuclear safety warnings unless there's a credible reason to believe a site could be at risk. Here is where the deeper meaning becomes clear. For decades, the site near Dimona has existed in a gray zone, widely suspected, heavily studied, but never officially acknowledged. The IAEA has long requested access to inspect the facility, but those requests were consistently denied. Until now, the agency has carefully avoided statements that might imply confirmed knowledge of nuclear activity there. That makes this moment unprecedented. By calling for restraint specifically near nuclear facilities amid rising tensions in Dimona, the IAEA appears to be stepping into territory it has long avoided. This does not mean the agency has openly confirmed what exists, but it does suggest something equally powerful: acknowledgement. An indirect signal that something critical is at stake at Dimona, beyond conventional military targets. In diplomacy, what is left unsaid often carries the greatest weight. The timing, wording, and context of this statement all point to a subtle yet important shift in international recognition. The question is impossible to ignore. Did the IAEA just confirm what it has carefully avoided for over 50 years? If so, this is not merely a statement. It marks the slow unraveling of one of the most closely guarded strategic ambiguities in modern history.
The conflict that began with missiles in Dimona is now taking a dramatic and unsettling turn. Iran has issued clear warnings that it will target major U.S.-linked companies operating across the West Asia region. Names that define global technology and business, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Intel, have been specifically flagged. Employees of these companies are reportedly being told to vacate their offices immediately, a stark signal that the arena of this conflict is no longer limited to military targets or desert battlefields. The shift is clear. The battlefield is expanding into economic and technological infrastructure, forcing multinational corporations and civilians into the line of fire. This is hybrid warfare at its most strategic and disruptive. Unlike traditional conflicts, which rely solely on tanks, missiles, and soldiers, Hybrid warfare combines conventional military strikes with economic, digital, and psychological tools. Targeting corporate hubs, technology systems, and infrastructure amplifies the impact far beyond the immediate strike zone. Even the threat of disruption to cloud systems, communications, or supply chains sends shockwaves through global markets and governments, signaling that no one is immune. Analysts note that modern conflicts increasingly exploit these vulnerabilities, leveraging the interconnectedness of the digital age to create pressure points far from the battlefield. The implications are profound. By moving the conflict into economic infrastructure, Iran is sending a message that it can retaliate against nations not just with missiles, but by threatening the very networks and companies that power their economies. This approach blurs the line between military engagement and civilian impact, creating uncertainty and fear on a scale that traditional warfare rarely achieves. Governments, corporations, and ordinary citizens alike must now grapple with risks that extend beyond conventional combat zones. What makes this even more significant is the calculated nature of the escalation. It is not random violence, it is a deliberate strategy to maximize both leverage and attention. By focusing on high-profile, globally recognized targets, Iran ensures that the world watches closely, while simultaneously testing the preparedness and resilience of international corporations and allied governments. The battlefield has moved from deserts and airspace into offices, servers, and the daily operations of some of the world's most influential companies. In this new theater, every decision, evacuation, and system shutdown becomes part of the conflict, showing how modern wars are fought in ways most people rarely imagine. Once considered a glittering symbol of global business, luxury, and stability, Dubai is now facing an unprecedented wave of fear and uncertainty. Reports indicate that employees of major international corporations, including tech giants, finance firms, and multinational offices, have been urgently instructed to evacuate their workplaces. Schools, universities, and even essential facilities like desalination plants are being evaluated as potential targets, raising the stakes far beyond routine business operations. In a city known for its high-rise skyline, bustling ports, and constant flow of international travelers, the sudden specter of conflict has created an atmosphere few could have imagined just weeks ago. The international response underscores the seriousness of the situation. Western governments, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, have issued travel advisories urging citizens to leave Dubai immediately. Airlines are adjusting routes, embassies are ramping up alerts, and corporate security teams are coordinating emergency protocols. What makes this especially alarming is the speed at which precautions are being enacted. What was once a thriving financial and tourism hub now resembles a city bracing for potential strikes as fear spreads through both residents and visitors. The stakes are not just operational, they are deeply human. Families, office workers, and international employees are forced to weigh safety against livelihoods, creating a tense, almost surreal environment. The city that epitomized opportunity and modernity now feels like a front line, where decisions must be made in hours rather than weeks. Daily life has been disrupted, routines thrown into chaos, and the psychological impact is rippling through both locals and expatriates. For a place so accustomed to global attention for its luxury and commerce, this sudden transformation into a zone of high alert is stark and unsettling. This situation also highlights how modern conflicts extend far beyond traditional borders. The focus has shifted from missile strikes in deserts to major urban centers, economic hubs, and critical infrastructure that powers not just local populations, but entire regional economies.
The uncertainty in Dubai is a vivid reminder that modern geopolitics no longer unfolds solely on battlefields. It unfolds in boardrooms, corporate campuses, and city streets, affecting ordinary people in ways that were unimaginable a generation ago. In essence, a global business hub, once defined by stability and opportunity, has been thrust into the shadow of conflict, and the world is watching closely.
What began as a strike in Dimona and a warning across Dubai is now rippling across the globe, reaching capitals far from the desert where it started. In Washington, D.C., intelligence briefings and policy discussions are underway, assessing how the strikes and threats to multinational companies could affect both security and economic interests. In London, financial markets are closely monitoring energy supplies and corporate operations, while security alerts are being raised to protect citizens and critical assets. In New Delhi, officials are coordinating with overseas missions to ensure the safety of Indian nationals, especially after reports of casualties in Dubai. The ripple effects are immediate and multifaceted. Oil markets, already sensitive to geopolitical instability, have reacted with sharp fluctuations, driven by the risk of disruptions to the Gulf region, a critical artery for global energy. Tech supply chains are also under pressure, with major companies like Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Intel threatened in West Asia. Production, logistics, and digital services could see cascading delays, affecting millions worldwide. Beyond the economic layer, governments are issuing global security alerts, adjusting travel advisories, and reassessing military postures to prevent further escalation. Analysts note that these measures are not isolated responses. They are part of a new era of interconnected threats where local conflicts have far-reaching international consequences. Perhaps most importantly, this unfolding crisis could reshape alliances and strategic calculations. Countries long removed from direct confrontation are now considering how their interests and commitments in the region might be impacted. Diplomatic ties, defense collaborations, and trade agreements could all be influenced by how this conflict develops, marking a potential shift in global power dynamics. As the situation evolves, one lesson becomes clear. What starts in one desert rarely stays there. From the sands of southern Israel to the boardrooms of Dubai and the capitals of Washington, London, and New Delhi, this conflict illustrates how modern warfare, politics, and economics are deeply entwined. Localized actions now have global repercussions, and nations around the world are watching, calculating, and reacting to a series of events that could define international relations for years to come.
As we watch these events unfold, from the missile strike in Dimona to the panic in Dubai, it's impossible to ignore the human cost. Lives disrupted, families terrified, and innocent people caught in the crossfire remind us that behind every headline are real stories, real wounds, and real fear. Today, 2 Indians lost their lives in Dubai, and countless others are scrambling to stay safe. In times like these, we all need to pause and reflect on the human side of global conflicts. We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments. How do you see these events shaping the world, and what lessons should we learn as citizens of an interconnected planet? Don't miss our previous video where we broke down another major geopolitical flashpoint that's still shaping global decisions today. Creating these videos takes hours of research, verification, and careful storytelling, so your support truly matters. One click to subscribe is enough to help us continue delivering clear, insightful analysis that keeps you informed and ahead of the curve.